It's been a few weeks since I've recorded an episode, and it's literally because I've had my focus on other things. We talk a lot about growth like it's this shiny, Instagrammable journey, but the real growth, it's quiet, it's messy, it's deeply internal. This week, I want to pull back the curtain and share what growth has actually looked for me lately. Because spoiler alert, it's not always pretty, but it's always worth it. So grab a cup of coffee and come get uncomfortable with me. Hey, welcome to the My Inner Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Laura Ferry. I'm showing up today. This is like take 12 because my technology is not working for me today and is not on my side. So hopefully this goes okay. And what a week to do this, because this is this raw, unfiltered version of whatever is happening looks like behind the scenes, I would say. We all have this idea of what it looks like to be a business owner. I've gotten comments from people younger than me, just going, oh, well, you own your business, you must be, doing well or whatever. But there's a lot of bullshit that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that you have to really dig through. And until you experience it, very often you don't really fully understand the scope of how hard it is, but also rewarding, because working for yourself, in my opinion, there's nothing that compares to it. And is that sense of freedom that I get for doing my own thing. So anyway, if you're new here, my name is Laura Ferry. I usually do this intro. My name is Laura Ferry and I write a blog because that's how it started. About 9 years ago, I started writing the blog called My Inner Struggle. I had just gone through some changes in my life. I lost my mother unexpectedly. I had just had my youngest daughter, and I was kind of losing a job that I loved. And so all of these things happened around me. It wasn't a good time in my marriage either. That just sort of, it was like a snow globe. Everything was being shaken up and I didn't know where I was going to land or what it looked like. And fast forward 9 years later, I just published my first book, Is It an Open Bar? And it's available on myinnerstruggle.com, as well as the blog, and some links to some other things, really great books, and the Self-Love Club, where I host a community of women who want to think and do better. And it is really so many things, an accountability group, something to make connection with other women that are trying to move forward in life that may have been stuck before. And then also link to my coaching services where I can coach you one-on-one, whether it be as a business owner or just someone that needs a little guidance in life. So how did I get here? And I made the tough decision about 2 years ago to leave a company that I was working for, that I had reached a ceiling and realized that I wasn't going to be going anywhere. I had poured my heart and soul into that and was not really met with the same heart at the end of it, and decided I really can't do this for anyone else anymore. I need to work for myself, because the effort that I put in is something that I'll reap the rewards after. And there's no judgment if you don't want to start your own business. It's just something that I'm super passionate about. And I enjoy helping other businesses grow as well with different strategy for growth and organization and finances and all of it. So how did I get here and what did it look like? I just actually wrote a blog this weekend and posted it. And it's really kind of says it all, right? We want these, when we decide that we're going to do something, we want these instant blooms. But really what happens is everything is growing like under the dirt first. We plant these seeds of hope and dreams that we want to achieve, but until you start nurturing those seeds, nothing's going to happen, right? I'm huge on vision boards, but we can put pictures on a vision board, and if it's just sitting there and we're not taking actionable steps to get toward that goal, we're not going to achieve it. So it's a mixture of things, right? So we plant those seeds in the dirt, and very often, everything else is going on around us. If we keep nurturing those goals that we want to achieve, and it's the things that you do on a daily basis that get you there. So I planted these seeds a long time ago. I just started writing. I just wanted to share my story, my journey, so that other people didn't feel alone. And it developed into this thing that I never really could have imagined before, that so many people resonate with it, that so many people understand and are supportive of all of the things that I'm doing. We want these instant blooms, but first you have to grow in the dirt, and it kind of sucks at times, the times where you're tired and you don't feel like networking or peopling or going to a meeting or working late or something like that. Because if you have a successful business, you are doing that at least some of the time. And in the beginning, a lot of the time. And so coming together with other people in that space has been interesting. Not everyone is really honest about their journey or want to hold up a facade of what it looks like. So I thought that's why it was important for me to sort of be transparent about that. I'm always seeking out new clients because I want to continue growing my business. It's not that I want to stay stagnant. And I think small business owners that have been in business a long time like the status quo. They maybe like that they don't have to work so much. They'd like to get ahead, but are they really willing to put in the time? And that's a very big generalization. And that's only based on my experience of the small business owners that I've met that have been in business for a long time. So last week, I received the Healthy Living Award for Sussex County, and I don't even know who nominated me. So whoever you are, I'm forever grateful. That was really friggin' cool. And that is the last thing that I thought was going to happen last week, honestly. I was nominated for 2 awards. One was the Rising Star, and the other was the Healthy Living Award. And to be honest, I thought the Rising Star made more sense just because people are always like, oh, I see your content. I see this, I see that, just because it's like a visual, and didn't really give any thought about that after. And I didn't win that award, which was totally fine. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I kind of felt like off the hook for a minute because the unknown is kind of what gets me. So I sat there and I was like, oh, this is nice. Now I'll just enjoy my lunch and not have to worry about getting up in front of all these people, which generally doesn't bother me, but it's the whole unknown thing. So I was just sitting there, and as they were reading off the description of who won, they mentioned the Self-Love Club. And then my heart started pounding. And it was a cool full circle moment for me in so many ways. And it felt kind of strange in the moment, almost like I'm going to say shock for shock factor, but a shock because I really wasn't expecting to win that at all. And no one really understands, or no one sees the stuff that's happening behind the scenes for months and months beforehand, before anyone sees a result, or the fact that I've been working on this tirelessly for the last 2 years. And when you're an entrepreneur, or business owner, those first couple years in business are the toughest, mainly financially. And it has been tough for sure. And here I am kind of getting into this and now rebooting everything, because when you don't when you're starting out and you're pouring all of your money into your business or investing in that future, you don't see those results necessarily right away. You're not getting the monthly revenue that you need immediately. And so sitting tight and having other options to create income, whether it's a side hustle or doing small jobs for someone or a full-time job, if that's your where you are right now. So no matter what, it's kind of, it's a little bit of a struggle in the beginning. And I don't know the percentages, but I know that there's a lot of small businesses that fail within the first few years. And it's because they've given up right before that shift or that potential shift, or they have to be open to trying something consistently over and over and over again. And you don't know when it's about to bloom is the thing. Things could change, at the drop of a hat, really. And your job isn't to know, it's to keep nurturing what you're doing and to wholeheartedly believe in it. That's why I don't, there have been people in my life that have been like, I know, like a good business, they just want to start a business, but they don't have the idea necessarily. And that's just not how I work. I think I need to plant the seeds of something long before I get there. And as I said, 9 years ago, I started a blog. I knew that I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't really see the end game necessarily. It was just something that I consistently built over years. And then in the last 2 years, that really has developed into something. And then along with my coaching practice and the monthly membership and then the book, I also published 2 journals. And then started this podcast, which has been really cool. So those ideas just keep blossoming and you're always looking for new ideas. I think that's that entrepreneur mindset, is that you continually keep building on that, not that everything's like in left field. And I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs before that, want to grow their business, but they get caught out in left field picking daisies because they just can't focus. And that's hard, but maybe you really need to rethink of your structure. Maybe that's not where your passion is being held. And if there's a business that you're growing that you're not passionate about, people can see that. If you're just in it for the cash, people can see that. And I would say most entrepreneurs aren't necessarily, the goal is financial freedom, right? Essentially, right? We want financial freedom, but it takes a lot to get there. And there's a lot of sacrifice prior to that. So I've known other entrepreneurs is like, well, I'm definitely not in this for the money because there's not a whole lot happening right now. So what people don't see is the stuff in between, all those hard days. Sometimes it's hard to get moving, especially when you've been at it, as any type of business owner. And you're not really seeing the results yet that you've been putting the effort in for. You can doubt yourself. There definitely can be some bouts of imposter syndrome and not feeling good enough or like you have, enough to offer, whatever it is that you're offering. The inner work, the invisible work, is probably the most important thing. So this is why everything from my consultancy, because that's something that I don't really talk about a lot on here. Everybody sees that I'm building the self-love club and that I'm a coach and that I help people kind of figure out their goals and get to their goals. However, as a business owner, I also own a small business, and it's a consulting agency on building business, whether it be operations or finance, creating processes, getting organized, get your books together. That is the number one thing when I go into a small business, is that small business owners don't really have an eye on their money. And whatever gets measured gets managed in anything that you're trying to accomplish. So that stuff like behind the scenes, and it's usually the hardest part, right? You go into a small business, if this is something that you do, and it's essentially opening the kimono. Let's like reveal all the cards, because where the books are at is kind of the temperature of the entire thing. You can have debt. There's no, a lot of us have debt, but it's managing all of those things and creating a plan to tackle that and then move forward, or move forward at the same time. So a lot of the business owners that I'm working with, we talk about this invisible work, this inner healing, these daily habits, the messy, like middle stuff. And the growth isn't linear. There are things that you'll have to tap into as a business owner that you might not have been ready to, whether it's dealing with, personal issues with employees or within yourself and your management style. And sometimes you have to give up the fact that you may not be the best at all of these things and put the right people in the right positions in order to do that. The nonlinear process of growing a business and staying rooted in your purpose is really difficult, because you're constantly being pulled in different directions. As I said, the last few weeks, I didn't do a podcast because I'm growing in all of these other directions. I didn't even have the mental space to put it together to do for you. And I'd much rather come on here and be authentic and give you a good message that you'll connect with than come on here and tell you, I don't know, something that wouldn't be authentic to me. I can't even think of anything like a robot, because I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. And my virtue in life is to provide as much value as possible. And if I come in here inauthentic, then I'm not providing you with that value. That is something that is my virtue in life. So one thing about all this invisible work is that you can be growing and still feel stuck at the same time. You can be aligned and still feel unsure at the same time. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means that you're in it. And as a business owner, sometimes, some days you may wake up and go, I don't even know what today holds for me, which is where the planning and everything that comes along with it. And that's the stuff that I'm super passionate about, is getting to help those business owners with what they need, or giving them the tools that they need to get organized and move forward and grow. Because as a business owner, if you're not growing personally, your business is going to stay stuck as well. You have to keep evolving. There's no better way. And this is my take on everything. So you may disagree with me wholeheartedly, but I have a feeling if you're listening to this podcast that you don't disagree with me. What else? About 3 weeks ago, I was on a cross-country trip. I drove across the country, and my destination was Reno, Nevada, and just kind of took my time and visited a lot of cool places, and took some time to step back and really think about my goals and where I was, what cups I was filling, and what I needed in order to fill my cup, in order to keep pouring out of my cup. And there's been a lot that I've been doing. There's no doubt about it. And there are things that really kind of suck the energy out too. So coming up with figuring out what buckets I need to keep filling and what I kind of need to put aside was really my mission over the last few weeks. And that's been really interesting. As I grow my consultancy, that's been really cool, because I'll be growing my team and we'll be able to help more people going forward. And then all of this too with the book, and I started writing my next book. And I want to just practice being more consistent on those things too. Consistently writing for myself and taking the time to do that. I am a single mom of 3 kids, and I have, a house to take care of and all the rest of it. So I understand when, someone says it's hard to find the time or find balance, because we're ever like seeking that balance, and things change. Yesterday, my daughter was sick last week. So yesterday was the first start of it, spring sports and getting into it. And it was an afternoon of craziness, but I was really grateful that I'm doing what I'm doing so that in the afternoon I could kind of like make dinner before we had our craziness so that it was ready for us when we got home. And that's one of those things where I can find balance for myself, doing things that'll help me later on. I did a podcast last year with a good friend, Eduardo, and he likes to say, like, what would future Eduardo be thanking me for tomorrow? So and I talk about daily habits all the time, getting your coffee ready the night before. And basically when I come down and I push the button, I'm like, oh, thank you, Laura, because it was done and I didn't have to do it in that moment. There's there's tons of other things that you can do to help yourself be productive and prepare, beforehand. Some people may argue, and I do get comments back that are like anti being super productive, that it's okay to take a break. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. However, I do know that when we can prepare and help ourselves, it helps us more in the long run. I do think that you should have scheduled time off, though, without a doubt, whatever that may be. And this last weekend, actually, I didn't have a whole lot going on, and I found myself like a little bored, and I was ready to jump on the Facebook group and say, like, what is everybody doing? Like, what are you creating right now? I wanted to dive into a hobby, but then I never got to post it. And then I realized I'll be in my garden by this weekend. So let's not take on something else that I won't be able to finish up on. So I think it's really important to schedule that time for yourself too. In all of those things, talking about daily habits. We talk about daily habits so much in the Self-Love Club. I was going to use something negative to associate it with, but I don't want to say that. They really help you get further ahead and consistently. For the past, I would say year, I want to say or so, I've been doing these daily morning habits that have helped me kind of they're focused on personal growth. So that's one thing. So that is something that I'm pouring into myself every day. And I've talked about it a million times, how the Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod has helped me tremendously. And that has since morphed into this whole other thing. So I have these daily habits that I do every day. I wake up early. I set my coffee the night before so that I'm set up for success in the morning, because I love my coffee. And in the morning, I'm meditating, I'm reading, I'm writing in my journal, I'm exercising, I'm doing all of the things that I need to do to fill myself before I move on with my day. And that just gives me something. And then I have been not as consistent as I would like to be, but now I have different clients coming in at different times. So I have not been able to do my walks consistently since I've been back from my trip, but I hope to get back there, and that'll probably move to the morning anyway, rather than midday, just so that I can accommodate my schedule. So all of those things that I talked about, the habits, the being in a dark place sometimes, even though you're doing what you want to do, it's all okay. We've all been there, even though not everybody likes to talk about it. Just remember that you're growing even when you can't see it yet. And if you're ready to work with me, shoot me a message on social or go to my website and fill out the form. I want you to remember that it's safe to grow slowly. That's something that I don't think I ever really was familiar with until I had my own observation of how long it's taken me to get some places. And in my book, I wrote it. I feel like I took the long way home, and that's okay. It's still growth. It doesn't matter. So if there's one thing that you can do today to take a baby step in the right direction, do it for yourself. And shoot me a message. I want to hear about it. I'm so happy that you joined me today. I hope that you found this useful. If you loved this podcast, please send it to someone that you feel like could benefit from it, and subscribe and like wherever you're watching. Don't forget to grab your copy of Is It an Open Bar on myinnerstruggle.com. And if you're ready to join the Self-Love Club or start working together, go to myinnerstruggle.com and sign up. And I can't wait for next week's chat. And I am thinking of you and sending you love. And I will see you soon.